Hey, what's up you guys? It's your girl Ashlyn. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into the video because I don't want this to be too long. But we are going to talk about the 8 books that I read in the month of April. Now, I'm really impressed by how much I was able to read this month. I don't know what's going on with me. Maybe it was because I was in a sleeping. Maybe it's because I was in a reading slump for so long that now I'm ready to inhale everything. Don't know what's going on, but I will say it's working. My reading goal at the beginning of the year was 30 books. I had to up it to 50 because I've read 20 books so far this year, which is crazy. I read 9 last month, 8 this month, and the TBR over there is set for 8 in the month of May. So if you haven't seen my choosing my April TBR video, go watch that so you can see what I was supposed to read versus what I actually did read, because I did not read a lot of those books that I said I would. Okay. But anyways, I did read 2 out of that entire TBR, and the first one I read was The Chain, which is an audiobook. Yeah, so I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It's a mystery thriller. It's written in 3rd person, which is a little, I'm not used to it. I'm more so of a 1st person girly myself. But there was several POVs. There wasn't just, it was mostly 2, but occasionally you would get someone else's POV, which worked in how like the story was set up, how it was formulated to work. You know what I mean? So it was a 10-hour audiobook, and I finished it in like a little over 6 hours. I finished it in a day. I finished it in one sitting. I was like cleaning, doing homework, doing whatever. I finished it in one go. It was a really good audiobook. I really liked whoever the voice narrator actor was really good. I really liked it. It kept me entertained the entire way through. It jumps immediately into the story. You know how like they have to world build, or I guess not for mystery thriller, they just have to build up the tension. It jumped right into it. Like, homegirl got kidnapped immediately. Okay, Kylie, the daughter, gets kidnapped. The people who kidnap her call Rachel, her mom, and they have to get her to follow through, and then once Rachel's done with her task, then she can get her daughter back. So Rachel has to kidnap another child. She has to find out ways to get a ton of money. She has to like do certain things, and once you're a part of the chain, there's no getting out. You're always going to be part of the chain. And so she kind of realizes that and figures it out. It was just really interesting. I feel like I'm not a big mystery thriller person, so I feel like it's really easy to entertain me, but it was good for what it was. It was really easy. I could see it easily being like a movie or like a series, like a TV series. I think the ending felt rushed, I think is what I initially thought. Like, there was a lot going on and it took a long time for this whole chain thing to happen, and then once at the end, once they started figuring out who was leading the whole chain, I was like, I was like, right, I guess, okay. So I think the ending was a little rushed for me, but I did enjoy it. It makes me want to read more mystery thriller and broaden my horizons for different genres. Next, after that, I read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I think this was on my TBR. Wait, so that means I've read 3 books off the TBR from last month. Okay, period. Okay, so I read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I also gave this a 3 stars because, okay, let's talk about it. It was kind of a love triangle a little bit. I wouldn't say it's like like The Summer I Turned Pretty. It's not that intense of a love triangle. It's like a little dialed back to where like what's her name, Persephone and Sam are so obviously into one another, but Charlie, the older brother, is just like, I mean, yeah, like I like Percy, she's cool or whatever, and like it wasn't that intense of a love triangle, so that didn't bother me very much. It's childhood friends to lovers, second chance romance. It very much is a mix of The Summer I Turned Pretty and Every Summer After and Love and Other Words. As far as like, I think it shows the childhood friends to lovers part of Love and Other Words. Okay. So I think that's definitely a good way to compare the two. If you've read both of them, like, you'd get it. I think that's maybe why I didn't love it as much, because I loved Love in Other Words and I loved The Summer I Turned Pretty, but combining the two, I liked it, but like, I've already read both sides of it and I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's cute, you know. Oh my god, the chapters in here were unnecessarily long. I still read this in like 2 days, so it didn't take me very long, but like, they were so long, and I hate long chapters so much. I hate them so much. I hate them. It made it feel like the story was dragging. Only one POV, which doesn't bother me, but I like it when you can see what he's thinking and where he's coming from. I like that. But you can't see that with this because it's only single POV, okay? There's a cheating trope. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't remember how that happened. I'm not gonna, oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. See, that's why I gave it a 3 stars, because I'm like, I had to sit here and really think about it. Doesn't mean I don't like it, I just don't love it, you know? Like, it's very much 3 stars is like, yeah, that's cute, I liked it when I read it, but then like, I'm not gonna think about it ever again, and that's just kind of what this was. It was good, it was cute, summer vibes, read it by the pool, but long chapters, cheating trope, single POV. I'm like, alright, I guess. Alright, okay. 3 stars. Next, I read this for my British literature class. This is WideCasso C by Jean Reese. Jean Reese, yeah. I didn't rate this at all. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had to write this for a paper, and it's like 171 it's 171 pages, and I didn't even I annotated one thing because it was gonna help me for my essay, and that's it. I don't think I comprehended anything to give like a good honest review of what this was about, other than I read it because I had to write a paper on it. I wrote my paper, got a good grade on it, we're doing good things. I basically just retained enough to be able to write a paper on it. That's why I didn't rate it, because I feel like that's not fair to the book, you know, for me to be like 1 star. I hated it. I just wasn't a fan of the writing style. That's why I skimmed through a lot of it and comprehended none of it. So next, I read Vipers and Virtuosos by Sav R. Miller. If you have not watched my blind date with the book video, go watch it. Go watch it. You can see like my honest, genuine reaction. I rated this one 4 stars. Okay, this is part of the Monsters and Muses series, book 2. I think the first one's Promises and Pomegranates. Haven't read it, couldn't tell you anything about it. Dual POV, this one. It follows 18-year-old Riley and 22-year-old Aiden. He's a rock star, and Riley, I always do so bad at explaining this. Riley suffered from a traumatic assault a couple years prior. She went to an event, she meets Aiden, they spend a night together, and after that, the next morning, they wake up, a scandal ensues, she's gone, his career's ruined, and he's gonna dedicate the rest of his time to finding her and stalking her. So this is a rockstar stalker romance. So I think I rated it 4 stars because it was just fun. Like, it was different. Like, I've never read anything like this. I enjoyed it. I was there for the ride. I read it in like a day and a half. Like, it was super easy to read, super easy to get into. Check your trigger warnings. And yeah. One thing that did bother me was that it was kind of insta-lovey, but because it's a stalker romance, they had to kind of like fall for each other fast in order for it to get to where it needed to go. Otherwise, this would be like a million pages. But that is Vipers and Virtuosos by Sav R. Miller, 4 stars. Next, again, part 2. If you haven't seen my blind date with the book video, go check that out so you can get my actual, true, genuine, raw reaction to this one. This is War by Laura Thalassa. This is the second book in the Four Horsemen series. So it kind of threw me off a little bit because I started with the second book, but I think once I read the first one and then go through it in order, I'll be fine. So with that being said, I recommend reading these in order, okay? So this is single POV, forced marriage, touch or you die. It gave fated soulmates in a way, and I'll explain in a second. Accidental pregnancy trope. Kind of like a one-sided enemies to lovers, which I think threw me off a little bit. Like I wanted it to be enemies to lovers. He just never hated her. He never hated her, which gave me the fated soulmate vibes, because he's like, you were made for me, God made you for me, you're marked to be mine, you're mine. I'm like, okay, right. So that's where I was like, but she hated him. She hated his guts. She literally tried to, you know, end his life or whatever. So I'm like, it was an interesting dynamic, I think, would be how I would word that. It is fantasy, but it gives very much dystopian vibes because it's like apocalyptic. There's zombies in here, which I guess would be more of the fantasy vibe. They have power, but they live like a dystopian world would live. You know, it's like modern, but they have to revert back to old ways because none of their technology works and yada yada. So it is fantasy, but it gives dystopian energy, is how I felt. The accidental pregnancy trope doesn't show up until the last maybe 150 pages, so you have a while. It wasn't too spicy, but it had its spicy moments. I really like this book. I'm really interested in seeing how the rest of the series is gonna go. I think the concept is really fun. It's really different, and I like it. I enjoyed it. I'm not mad at it. 4 stars. I gave this 4 stars. I really wanted it to be 5, but it was not. But it's okay. It's all right. Okay, it's all right. Okay, next. I read Hooked by Emily McIntyre. Me and my bestie Constance read this. We're reading the whole series right now. So far we've read Twisted and Scarred, and now we've read Hooked. We're reading them out of order. Say, like, these are all standalones basically in one giant series, so you can read them out of order. You don't have to read them in order. The only reason we're reading them out of order is because every time we go to the store, we just buy whatever's available, because they're not always all available in sets of 2, you know? This one I gave 4 stars. I didn't love it as much as I love Scarred and Twisted. It felt kind of insta-lovey. It is kind of short, so like I know you have to get on with the get on or whatever. But also with the plot and how the plot was set up, I think that's why it felt insta-lovey. So basically you follow James, his rival, his enemy is Peter. So his way of getting revenge is through Peter's daughter, which is Wendy. So he finds Wendy, he kind of seduces Wendy in a way to get her to fall in love with him so he can break her, leave her broken, yada yada, except he actually falls for her. But he laid it on thick when he first met her, and I think that's what threw me off a little bit. Like he was, which I know that's what he was trying to do because that was the point, but I was just like, it didn't feel like he was faking it, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And I think what saved it from getting lower than a 4 stars was because it was that insta-lovey, him trying to like get her to fall in love with him, and then, you know, shit hit the fan, and then they became enemies, and then they went back to lovers. So when they were enemies, I loved every moment of it, you know, like it was so good. And then when they became lovers, I was like, okay, cool. But that beginning insta-lovey, like him seducing her, I was like, okay, kind of vibes, you know? The last like 50% was really good. That first 50% I was like, okay, come on. And I think it was because it felt insta-lovey. I was like, but once it became enemies and on, I was like, that's how it landed for me. That's what it was. That's how it worked, you know? That's all I have to say. I read was The Catch by Amy Lee. This took me literally the entire month to read. Like I read 3 other books while trying to get through this one. I had everything it needed for me to love it, and I didn't. And I wonder if I'm the problem. I don't know if I'm the problem. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. So it's single POV, which, whatever. It's a social media influencer and a grumpy fisherman, which he's not even that grumpy. They just met and it all started off on the wrong foot, basically. So he's not really grumpy. Small town, enemies to lovers, fake engagement or fake dating or whatever. Grumpy sunshine. I don't think that's an intense trope. It's definitely played off of a little bit, but it's not. He's not grumpy. He's not grumpy. He's not grumpy. Didn't hate it, didn't love it, anticlimactic is what I have in my notes here, is what I said. Hello, Melanie. She's a social media influencer. She gets like this deal to travel to Canada to promote a resort out there. Some things get mixed up. She goes to Canada, her room's not ready, she can't stay at the resort yet. She doesn't have money for anything, so she decides to get a room at a bed and breakfast a couple hours from where she's supposed to be. And she walks in, they're not expecting guests, they're not taking any guests. She meets Evan. He sees that she's city girl, like cares about her looks, cares about like yada yada, hates her, you know, despises her from jump, and then they just start bantering. It had a lot of comedic relief, but it didn't make me laugh. And I don't know if that's me or if that's the book. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I've read books like this before, like It Happened One Summer. I love It Happened One Summer. I love that book. And this is kind of like that. Like it wants to be that, but it wasn't. And I don't know if that's me being like, you thought, or if like, I don't know. I don't know. I gave this a 3 stars. And like, that's all I have to say. That's it. That's all. Also, no, I'll save that for the element of surprise. We're still in April, so I have a couple more days to finish this, but I started Great and Precious Things by Rebecca Yarros. This is another thing that was on my TBR from last month, so we're getting through it. I'm enough of the way through it not to give you a star rating on it because I have no clue. Yeah, I can tell you it's definitely 4-star range. Great and Precious Things by Rebecca Yarros. Rebecca Yarros wrote The Fourth Wing. I also read The Last Letter by her, which is a military romance, and this is also a military romance. I am prepared fully for emotional damage. Okay. Miss Rebecca likes to do this thing where she gets you really attached to characters and then she rips them away from you, okay? And I fear that's what's gonna happen in this book. I haven't finished it yet, so I don't know. But what I can tell you so far about this book, love Rebecca's writing style. I do. Her chapters are a little long for my taste, especially in this one. It's dual POV, military romance, small town, childhood friends to lovers, kinda, forced proximity. Rebecca, what the fuck is gonna happen in this last little chunk? Girl, I'm mentally preparing for emotional damage, but I don't think I'll be ready. The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros, sobbed my eyes out. Fourth Wing, cried. I love you, Rebecca, but this is taxing, emotionally taxing. I'm scared. All right, y'all. So that is the 8 books that I read this month. I did the audiobook as well. Let's try this again. That is the 8 books I read this month. I had an okay reading month. Like, it wasn't amazing, over the top, like wonderful, like everyone should read all of these, but it also wasn't like burn the book, I never want to read again. So like, we're in the middle and I'm happy to be there. I don't know, I just work here. I didn't hate them, I didn't love them, but I'm not mad at them. That is it for my April reading wrap up. I'm so glad I read all of these. So excited to see how many books I can read next month. And you know, it's gonna be a good month. You know, let me know what y'all read. Let me know what y'all think of these. If you've read any of these, if you have any thoughts, opinions, anything, let me know. But yeah, that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.